Welcome back, lovers of sequential art. Today I'm reviewing Nubia, Real One. I recognize I am not the target audience for this comic, and after having seen a bunch of reviews posted on YouTube, I fully expected to go into this and really dislike this comic. After reading it for myself, my opinion changed a little bit. Before we get to the details, check out Blackmanic.com where you can read the first chapter of the Tate Earthlander graphic novel and join the mailing list if you want to find out when we're ready to print this thing. I am a firm believer when it comes to comic books that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And what are those parts? As far as writing goes, the overall story, the story arcs of the individual characters, whether the characters themselves are interesting and compelling, whether the characters go through development throughout the story, and whether the story has some sort of social or political commentary. These are all things that are important to me as a reader. The other aspect of comics is the art itself, the style that the artist chooses. If that style includes distinctive lines, what is the quality of those lines? If that style is more sketchy, is it more of a rough, loose, lively pencil sketch? Are color and shading used effectively to convey the mood or to set the stage for some sort of dramatic moment? Is the artwork effective in facilitating an understanding of what the writer has written? These are the things I'm looking for when I'm reading a graphic novel. Once you consider the writing and the artwork individually, you have to consider the combination of the two, because that's what comic books are all about. How does the artist interpret the written word? Really great writing can hold up mediocre artwork. Amazing artwork can hold up mediocre writing. If both the writing and the artwork are not of the best quality, I have a hard time continuing to enjoy that. The flaws I see in the artwork within this comic often come down to the same few issues: that the characters are not drawn in proportion, and that those proportions are then not translated into the perspective of the scene. And this is one of the fundamentally most difficult things for a comic artist to achieve successfully, is to get figures in proportion and to get that proportion in perspective within the scene. I'm an amateur artist. I struggle with this every day. I understand the struggle is real. But if I were being paid by DC, I would be expected to level up a little bit. So I'm a little disappointed at that. At times I feel like the artist is trying to incorporate manga iconography without really understanding manga iconography, or at least without really pulling it off. At other times, there's just some really unattractive images. When the artist gets the proportions consistent and accurate, which I believe was her intention all along, and when she places the characters in perspective within the scene, the style is quite attractive and I do really enjoy it. I think that this artist is capable of doing really good work. It makes me question, what did DC do to push this artist either on the timeline or on the pay scale to force them to cut corners? When you look at some of this artist's other work, it seems to be more consistent and a little more realistic and believable, and I find it hard to believe that the distortions that we see in this particular book are a stylistic choice. The writing is okay. There are some moments in this that are quite touching. There are some very emotional moments. There are moments that made me laugh. There are moments that made me tear up a little bit. It's quite compelling at times. There are also some moments that are a little difficult, that don't really seem to make a lot of sense. But overall, I'm quite pleased with the story, and I'm quite pleased with the characters, and I find them believable. My biggest concern as far as the writing goes is that the author tried to cram too many things into this. There are too many social issues being addressed for one graphic novel. You could have taken one of these things and really explored it thoroughly, and I find that the final scene, the scene that you build up to in the end, is not entirely believable, which is something I think could have been easily fixed with a little bit of guidance from the editor. Due to the content and the language, this is only recommended for kids 15 and up. Overall, I feel like this graphic novel is a situation where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You know, the writing at times is a little flawed and the art at times is a little flawed, but as a whole package, it's quite enjoyable and worth the read. If you want to see more of these kinds of graphic novel reviews, give a like to the video and subscribe to the channel. That tells YouTube to promote it to more viewers. And I'll see you next time.